Good evening, everybody. Hello, welcome. I have a mouthful of taffy. I forgot to turn on the light, but I do have my microphone on tonight. I tell you, things are getting more and more challenging on a daily basis. Just remembering to do the right things. Hello, Rebecca. Long time no see. Hope you and your husband are doing well. Sumi, good evening. Good to see you. Was just chatting with you on Camp Patton Family Homestead. And uh, yeah, Freeze Dry Wholesalers has filet mignon. I think it was $75 for like 8 3-ounce fillets, freeze dried. So yeah, if you want to get those. Shenanigans, good evening. Welcome. Little Lone Prepper, good evening. And that looks like that's it for a while here. About 7 people on, according to what I'm seeing. And more coming soon. Hello, Utah Mike. Welcome. So a little bit of backstory on why I chose the topic I have for tonight. I have to check with Michelle. She's into holistic medicine. She is the combat medic we interviewed a couple months back. And we had made preliminary plans for her to come back the first Monday in August to talk about holistic medicine. So salves, ointments, essential oils, and things like that. I have to check with her and see if she's still willing to do that. That may be next week. So I was looking for a subject for tonight. And we had a pretty big thunderstorm here Thursday evening. We also had a 5.1 earthquake just west of here. Hello, Gil. Welcome. Holly Ivans, Muskoka Oma, Crafty Stacker, John H. Hello. So is John H. the one that's associated with Rebecca? And so heard this thunderous roar. And Diana too, good evening. And Helen says, something fell. I said, no, it's thunder. Don't worry about it. Went back to bed, got up Friday morning, somewhere around there. And walked into my prepper room, and one of the shelving units, my second largest shelving unit, had fallen. And so the top three shelves are just all over. It's to the left of my desk. My dad gave me a roll top desk when I graduated. When I got my master's, he gave me a roll top desk as a graduation present. And so just to the left of my roll top desk, and in between my roll top desk and my big oak filing cabinet, I have this humongous 5-shelf plastic, heavy duty, supposed to be 250 pounds per shelf, shelving unit. To the left of that, I have a steel shelving unit, but the shelves themselves were wood and they sagged. So that's one of the things I learned. Was a friend of mine who is a handyman. I hired him because he had all the tools, the woodworking tools, and everything else, to measure my spaces inside of my metal shelving unit, and cut me some 2-size wood so that I could reinforce that and not have the sagging from the weight of the cans. And so I said, look, I want to be honest with you. There's only about 5 or 6 people alive who have ever seen this room, and I want to keep it that way. So I'm going to let you inside. You can do your measuring, and then you cut the wood. So, well, first off, the wood that he cut was short, an inch on each side. So I wasn't very happy. But the other thing is, the way I knew him was we were all members of a men's business group. And so there were about 40 members. And he went into the very next meeting on a Thursday morning and said, my gosh, you guys aren't going to, and this is to 40 people, you aren't going to believe what Lee has in this room in his house. And I go, geez, Dave, so I don't think I've even talked to him since then. But anyhow, so the second largest one is the plastic one, and it's the one that collapsed. And so I spent Friday, Saturday, Sunday, kind of getting all that repaired. And I've got it put together right now with bungee cords and everything else. So we went to Costco yesterday afternoon. No, we went to Costco today. Helen did a lot of research yesterday. I think we're going to go to Lowe's, but there's a Craftsman replacement that I'm going to get at Lowe's. So I was talking with Maggie, Aussie, I forget her, Aussie something or other, is her handle on here on the channel. And, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do Monday night. She says, talk about your experience with your shelves. So I figured I'd kind of expand that and just share with you a whole bunch of mistakes that I've made since 1962, 63. And there she is, Maggie, Aussie Life. So I was just talking about you. Your ears are probably burning. And saying that tonight is your fault, that you made the recommendation to discuss the shelving and everything from my events over the weekend. And I decided to expand that a little bit into a whole bunch of mistakes that I have made as a prepper. And so if you can learn from my mistakes and not waste money, then I will be so, so happy, because believe me, I have made some mistakes. I've a lot of it has been kind of self-taught, only because prepping was not something you even alluded to in public for the majority of my life. So it's a hello prepper for the ages. So I've kind of had to learn in spurts, and unfortunately sometimes I have to learn through the school of hard knocks. So let's get into this, and these are not numbered, they're not in priority order or anything else. They're just random thoughts that I tried to put them in some kind of where I could transition from one into the next. So we'll see how that works out for you. Shenanigans says, I go into people's houses and spaces as a contractor, and we see it all, preppers included. We never tell anyone it should be kept private. Amen. I wish I'd had you. You probably would have got me the right size shelving for my or wood to reinforce my shelves too. I was thinking about taking this and making myself a guest and walking in and showing it to you, but now there's two. I really don't want to do that. Devil Dog Prepper, good evening, welcome. Anyhow, the first one is, the first big mistake I made was I didn't start inventorying quick enough. Of course, we didn't have Excel. Everything I do now is on an Excel spreadsheet. And of course, that's susceptible. We have 5 CMEs heading towards Earth. So I need to do something, because that's my only inventory. I guess I need to print it out or something. But anyhow, if those CMEs affect my computer, then I don't have an inventory. Of course, I won't be looking at it to make purchases anyway. So, but one of the first things you want to do is just keep track of what you've got. There are so many times I just did it again. I wanted to do a short on an experience that we had going out to, when our group went out for our picnic. And Nutrient Survival was very kind. Becky was really nice. She gave us 2 cans of food, sponsored the event. And one of the things we learned, one of the things they learned there, was that their can openers don't work on number 10 cans. There's a deeper seam on a number 10 can than on a standard 10 can or aluminum can or steel can or whatever. So I finally had to pull out my P51, and we did it that way. But the people that I had asked to take care of getting everything ready for cooking and everything just didn't have the right equipment. So I said, I guess what I need to do is not be reliant on my P51. I need to order another, or I need to order a commercial hand crank number 10 can opener. And I ordered it yesterday, hoping it would be here today so I could do that video on the difference between the different kinds of lids and can openers. And when I was walking in today, I wanted to show you some of the things that I've got. Bang, right there, staring my face. A big number 10 hand crank can opener. I go, oh, God, I've done it again. Another one of those things that when you get so much stuff that you can't find anything, it doesn't do you any good at all. So you want to try to be as organized as possible and keep as good an inventory as possible. And so the point number 2 is inventory everything. Now I'm going to carry that inventory down another step, and that's to your bug out bag. And so I started my bug out bag in earnest about 1981. I was at Goodfellow Air Force Base in San Angelo, Texas, and really started getting a real good bug out bag put together. And I had access. I was on active duty at the time, so I every once in a while I went to Fort Hood, and I'd go to the clothing sales store at Fort Hood, and they had the Alice medium pack, that you can buy if you're on active duty. So I bought it, and that's what I used as a basis for my bug out bag. And I had that bug out bag, and people have this argument: you make your own bug out bag, don't buy one because you're going to get ripped off. Well, I had this bug out bag since 1981, and I mean, when I was HR director for the electric co-op up north of here in Waco, and commuting 90 miles back and forth every day, I converted my bug out bag. I took some stuff out and made it more like a get home bag. So anyhow, I put that in my car, and I bought a new car. And so I had all kinds of things in my car, and it had an electronic lock. And so somebody had a master electronic key and stole everything out of my car. My bug out bag, I had a 1911 A1 in my car. I had a 12 volt air purification system because of my lungs. I mean, I lost thousands of dollars on that insurance claim because I didn't have an accurate inventory of all the things I had upgraded in my bug out bag. I didn't have an inventory of everything that was in there and its value. So I'm sure that I lost thousands of dollars. And then, of course, I was naked, or at least I felt naked. Hello, just mom doing the stuff. Welcome. Good to see you. Tuck by V. Good evening. And so he's talking about using a swing away on a number 10 can of chili, I believe. Wow. Okay, great. So anyhow, I needed something. So I did a really extensive, I found this Everly stock bag, fully loaded, $1,200. I mean, but it was a wonderful bag. And it's where I learned about yo-yo fishing gear and everything else. And so I said, no, I can't afford that. So I said, what can I afford? Because I need a bag quickly. And the best one I could find was from a company called Echo Sigma. So I bought the Echo Sigma bug out bag, and I used that as my get home bag. Then I bought a get home bag and used it for Helen, a little bit lighter weight. So, I want to tell you, people said, Lee, you're stupid for buying a pre-made bag. And I said, why? Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing to it that I did to my Alice pack from 1981 on. And that is when I saw something better, newer, I replaced what I had. I wanted to upgrade. And that takes us into another story. So, but anyhow, inventory everything in your bug out bag. In case it gets lost or stolen, you have valid information that you can do for as far as an insurance claim. So anyhow, I recommend Echo Sigma. I'm very happy with their products. The bag is comfortable. It's, I really don't have any complaints at all. The one thing I really wanted that I felt was essential was I wanted a waistband on my bag. One of the things I learned in the military is you don't carry the weight on your shoulders. You use that for balance. All the weight goes on that waistband around your waist. And that's what you really want for a bug out bag, is one that has a really good padded waist strap. And and I'm very, very happy with it. So, and I don't make any money. I don't have an affiliation with them or anything else. I'm just going to tell you, that's what I bought. If I could have afforded the Everly stock, I would have bought the Everly stock. But I'm not that kind of I don't have access to that kind of money. So then, while we're on that subject of the Bob and always upgrading and getting something better, I got into a bad habit for a couple of years where I was had to have the newest, greatest, best thing of something, and I have way too many knives. You can only use one at a time, and I've got one of these buckets full. I got one of these buckets full of knives and folding knives and oh gosh, you name it, and I've got it. Some of them have only been used once. They don't have any wear and tear on them at all. The one that I use most frequently is the Condor bush lore. which is almost if you look at it, you really have to look to tell the difference between the Condor Bushlore and my LT Wright Genesis. I mean, they look pretty much the same. The Condor has a little bit more of a broom handle type handle, but I mean, they look pretty much alike. Hard to tell the difference from a distance. And I really like the SE5, but I don't like the holster or the sheath for it. I love the Becker BK2 and BK7. Those, but they're just too doggone heavy. You know, I'm not as young as I used to, so I can't handle that excess weight. Let me see here. Oh, so Maggie says that she's had the second floor storage room start to sag due to the weight on the shelves. Yep. Having a wall system or more narrow shelving and rows is better to disperse the weight, perhaps. Yeah, that's absolutely true. We're very lucky here in Central Texas. Everything is on a concrete foundation. So my foundation is basically 18 inches of concrete, and then everything sits on top of that. Now, the area where we are, just east of I-35, is a little bit more fertile than the area just west of I-35. We have 2 inches of topsoil. They don't have any. But you know, if you go further east from here, if you go over to Granger, for example, Granger, Taylor, those areas, then that used to be very fertile farming, cotton farming. As a matter of fact, Granger used to have the most fertile cotton farm in the U.S. And then they dammed up the Brushy Creek, I believe. No, San Gabriel, the San Gabriel River, and made it into the Granger Lake. So most of the U.S.'s best cotton land is now underwater. But of course, the representative who arranged to have that all put underwater made a lot of money because he bought all the land around it before they dammed it up and turned it into a lake. And then they named it after him to boot. Oh, well. So stay away from fads. You know, just beware. Once you get something good, stay with that. There's no need to constantly upgrade. If it gets to the point to where you know that it's absolutely not going to be useful, then yeah, upgrade. But just upgrading for the sake of upgrading, that doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of money. You can put your money elsewhere. Trust me. I wish I could sell 3/4 of my knives. You know, they're just way too much. As a matter of fact, I was going to show you, we're going to talk a little bit about barter stuff, and wanted to show you I first got into buying silver in I had just gotten divorced. I was at Field Station Augsburg in Germany in 1977. And Time Life came out with this deal where they had the stamps of the world, and they were 1 gram pieces of pure silver, and it was made in the form of a stamp of a country. And so they had all the countries of the world, and I got one a month forever and ever. Yes, I got ripped off big time because I was paying like $10 back in the 70s for 1 gram of silver. So there's 31 grams of silver, 31 grams to a troy ounce. Okay. So that means I was paying $310 an ounce in the 70s. And, you know, it was probably 12, not even that, it's probably $7 an ounce. But that was my first foray into precious metals, was getting, I figured I was doing something of value. And so I'm glad I did that. I'm not happy that I did it the way I did it, but I'm glad I started investing in that at the same time. Then the other one I did was, there was a company, just one second. There's a company called NAIC, National Association of Investment Clubs. So we started an investment club, and their magazine is Better Investing. So we started an investment club in Field Station Augsburg, a whole bunch of us intelligence guys. And, we were putting $5 a month into buying stocks. And then I left Fort Huachuca, went to Goodfellow Air Force Base, continued that. We formed a club in Goodfellow. Then from Goodfellow, I went back to Augsburg, 3 years. We did it again in Augsburg. Then from there, I went to Fort Huachuca, Arizona, and we did it again in Fort Huachuca, Arizona. So I have all these investment clubs. So I've got all these stock certificates, right? We'll cover that part. But this is General Electric. So started that very small, reinvested the dividends. Now I have a nice portfolio at putting nothing more than $10 a month into an investment account that continues to buy more and more stock. My biggest holding right now is a company called RPM, Republic Powdered Metals. They make testers paint, and they, for model makers, they make Bondo. They make several different things, but RPM, Republic Powdered Metals. I have a lot of theirs. My second biggest holding is probably Ford Motor Company. And then third and fourth are going to be Lowe's and Home Depot. But I did that starting way back when at $10 a month. Okay. So, you can do something if you just come up with a plan and do it incrementally and consistently. It's not, you don't have to go out and spend a whole bunch of money all at one time. Just do a little bit over time. When I had my store, even, let me see, for about 10 years, every paycheck, I would take $50 out of my paycheck, and I'd go to Austin's Best Coin and Gold in Round Rock, and I would buy some Mercury dimes and maybe a silver round. It depends on what the price of silver was. But I did that consistently, for 15 or 20 years. And I've quadrupled my investment with that. So just a little bit over time. You don't try to spend a whole bunch all at one time. Okay. So stay away from fads. Don't think you always have to have the newest, greatest, most fantastic thing out there. You're just going to waste your money. And then later on, if you're like me, you'll regret it. Absolutely. We just did that. We went through our meds. We do that about every 6 months, and we went through all of our meds. And so what we do is out-of-date meds. There's an organization here in town that a group of pharmacists, and they give the meds to people who have needs. And so they check and see how far out of date they are and whether or not they're safe. And so then, we're basically donating them to somebody who can determine whether they're good or not, and then reissue those to people who are in desperate need. Let me see. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, I was really, really enamored with the bag and the contents, but there's no way on earth I could afford that. I would have to win 2 or 3 lotteries, I think, to afford that. We're going to talk about securing it here in just a little bit. So John's like I am, huh, Rebecca? He has a knife addiction too. Yep. As a matter of fact, my everyday carry. So in this pocket, I carry my buck. This is a buck Revell, and in this pocket, oh no, it's not there. My money clip, my rosary, and my inhaler. Where is my rat? I carry an Ontario rat. Oh wow. What happened to it? Oh my God. My rat's missing. But I carry an Ontario rat too in my left pocket. So anyhow, so let me see. Catch up here. Yeah, I've got 4 or 5 multi-tools because, everybody says the Leatherman's the best. And I've got 4 or 5. Don't have a Leatherman yet, but, just think. If instead of having 4 or 5, I had waited and saved that money and invested into a Leatherman, I could have gotten a Leatherman and something else that's really good. So you make my point, Rebecca, I've wasted on 4 or 5 different mediocre things. Whereas if I had waited, I could have just bought one good one. So yes, you're absolutely right. And I'm jealous. Um, I gave away my yucca pack from Boy Scouts. That was what I originally had as my bug out bag, and I had an aluminum frame with the with my sleeping bag underneath. And then all of a sudden, and this was one of those cases where I did make a wise decision. That's when I got rid of the yucca Boy Scout canvas bag with an aluminum frame, and got the Alice pack medium. And then I had this old, I mean, the sleeping bag I had to be from the 60s when I was in Boy Scouts. And then, of course, the newer sleeping bags are a lot more lightweight and waterproof and all kinds of different things. So, that I upgraded for a reason. That made sense to upgrade that. I still have that old sleeping bag, by the way. It's out in the garage. Oh, wow. So Diana 2 won the Oops, that's fantastic. Let me see. Hello, Jack. Welcome. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, so the I love my LT Wright Genesis. It's probably the most expensive knife I have. I also bought one of the I forget the name of it, but I bought it from Survival. Oh gosh, the guy that did 10 C's. But anyhow, you know who I'm talking about. He has his own, like the Scorpion and things like that. So I bought the Bushmaster from him, and that was a $130 knife. And I've only used it once. I don't like the fact that it has uh, it's not a straight line edge. It's a curved edge. And I don't like those. And I also don't like serrated edges. So, okay. Let me see. Gosh, how far down do we go here? You guys are doing a great job chatting. So if you go with the better companies, and so there are a couple really good companies. I use PM, and I think that's the name of it. I'd have to check. But anyhow, they have a military discount. So basically, when you buy precious metals, you have three different columns. Okay. So you have a price if you buy between 1 and 10 of something, another price, a lower price if you do 11 to 25. And then if you do 26 or more, you get the lowest price. So the way they handle military discounts is I get that third column, even if I only order one. And then once you get over, I think it's $100, they ship for free. I've always had great luck with shipping. I've never had a problem with any kind of shipping from my company at all. So I can say that that's nothing to be afraid of. The only other things I would say is as long as you buy from a reputable company, you don't have to worry about anything. I did order a 1 ounce Panda, and it was a particular one I wanted from China, and so it was on eBay, and I won the auction at $5. And at that time, the spot price for silver was like $15 an ounce. So they shipped it to me, and I said, "Wait a minute, something's wrong here. Nobody's going to sell $15 worth of silver for $5 and throw in international shipping. This is flaky." So I immediately took it over to my friend at Austin's Best Golden Coin. He sold the store and retired just recently, by the way, and had him test it. And yeah, it was all fake. Yeah, it didn't even have a fake silver lining on top of it. It was pure. I just wasted $5, but you live and learn. But if you buy from a reputable dealer, nothing to worry about. And then everything's in increments. 1 gram, 1/10 of an ounce, 1/20 of an ounce, half an ounce, quarter ounce, ounce, 2 ounce, 5 ounce, 10 ounce bars. So it's It's not that difficult. It really isn't. I can understand it, so it can't be that difficult. Uh, yep, and some of us that are almost broke do that as well. Don't know what that is, so you'll have to educate me on that. Um, yeah, my pocket dump, I'm disappointed. I don't know what I do with my rat, my Ontario rat. It's a cream colored knife. Don't remind me that I've lost my knife. Golly. Maybe it's in the pants I wore to church last night. I'll have to check. God, that's good. Now it's got me kind of worried. Don't want to lose it. I think I'm almost caught up. Dave Canterbury, thank you, Creative Redundancy. Yes, and his company is Self-Reliance Outfitters. There we go. Thank you. All you had to do was spur a little bit of memory in my mind. Thank you. Great going. Dave Canterbury, Self-Reliance Outfitters, and I bought the Bush Lore knife from him. Bushmaster. So anyhow, thank you. You did a very good job of reading my mind. And so JM Bullion Chef Tech is a phenomenal company, absolutely great, and they probably are one of the top 3 tiers as far as companies that have a very good reputation. If you buy from them, you won't have any problems whatsoever. Yeah, as a matter of fact, they demonetize if I say the word GUN. So it's crazy. So, well, that's all you need, to be honest with you. And I think, one of the things that if we look at that timeline, at some point in the timeline, we're going to get back to markets, and people are going to want things that are a commodity that they can use as a money, as a currency. And so, precious metals were the original money. Currency is a representation of money. So currency, basically, if you take a look at the old pre-1964 dollars, it says silver certificate, and you may exchange this piece of paper for 1 ounce of silver. Okay. So that's our entire economy up until President Nixon, 1972, 73, was based off of gold and silver. Then we made a fiat currency. So most of the people who, I would say probably born late 60s have never really experienced a precious metal based economy. So they think, well, you can't eat it, so it's no good, but we won't go there because there's lots of other things that you do value that you can't eat either. But I think it's just an uninformed way of saying I have no value in it. But in reality, that was the world up until 1973. That was what was considered value until from 3000 BC until 1973. And now it's basically the US dollar and oil. So, got to see what Tuck 5 said. I have one, absolutely phenomenal. I got the canteen, the cup, and then it has a little stove underneath, just phenomenal, absolutely great. Love them. And that the one thing I do like is everything he does is practical, and it's got so it's a single wall, so you can use it to cook in and everything else. I think I've shown you my cook set. I know I showed you my dirty cook set, and then I cleaned it right after we did my group had their outing here last 2 months ago, and that Dawn power wash. Oh, let me tell you, that makes it look just like brand new. So it's just unbelievable. Okay, so have to have better knives, bug out bag, water filters. Oh man, I got on a kick about water filters too. But do a little bit of math. First off, I really started getting into water filter straws. So then I started thinking, wait a minute, do I really want to have my body down that close to polluted water in order to use a water filter? Now, there is one company, I think it's Safe. I don't want to say because I would get it wrong, and I'd give attribution to the wrong company, and I'd probably get in trouble. But anyhow, there is one that takes a straw, and you can attach it to a gravity bag, and then as gravity filters down, you can then use that and collect it. So I got away from the straws. So those are in my barter bag now. So I'm going to barter those away. Then, probably 15 years ago at the LDS Provident Living Center, they were selling Seychelles water bottles. And so, it's got the filter down inside, and then it filters it you put dirty water in a bottle, screw on the filter, and then you drink out of it, which is a great idea. And I bought one that's a radioactive filter, right? Because I figured, nuclear radiation, everything else. Then after I paid like $75 for this doggone nuclear radiation filter, I started thinking, wait a minute, I'm going to have radioactive sediments in my water. I'm going to filter all that out. It's going to concentrate in the filter, and I'm wearing that on my hip, right? So I'm going to walk around with a whole collection of radioactive fallout dust in this filter. Maybe that's not such a good idea. So, I don't do the bottles anymore either. What I like now is the Survivor Filter Pro. That is my favorite. I have 2 of them. That's even extravagant. And the reason is because each one can do 300,000 gallons. So that's 600,000 gallons. So that's 300,000 for me and for Helen. 300,000 days. Do you realize that that's over 100 years? So at a gallon a day. So I don't need that. I have to start thinking better about doing the math and saying, hey, does this really make sense having this much of whatever? Can I really get by on what I have and invest the money in something else that I need? I really need an HF transceiver right now. I tell you what, I got so close. They had an ICOM 7200 on sale on Amazon days for $1,200, and they would let you put it out for $100 a month. And I could see the divorce paperwork coming at me if I spent that kind of money on a radio. I would get a radio from Amazon, and I'd get divorce letters from an attorney at the same time. And so I figured, I think I'll leave that one alone and not get it. But anyhow, now another one is I have some stuff that I have never opened. So make sure you open it. Use it. I forget who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody, and we were talking. I said, you have to program your UV5R, the handy talkie. Okay, that unlike other radios, like if you have an FM receiver or you have a CB radio, if you have an FRS radio, if you have a GMRS radio, if you have a MERS radio, all those are preset channels. Whereas the handy talkies, whether that be the Yaesu or the UV5R, you got to open that up. You have to find the frequencies of the repeaters in your area, the offset, because it's a duplex system. So you transmit on one frequency, so that's the frequency you're going to plug into your radio, and then it receives on a different frequency. So that's called the offset. So it's going to be something like maybe 0.2 megahertz or something like that offset. And so, you're going to have to find out what those are in order to transmit and receive. Because if you just open it up and start transmitting, you're not going to hear any answers because it's a duplex system, not a simplex. All the others are simplex, but the ham radio handy talkies are duplex. So, you got to program those. You got to open them up, program it. That's where you have to get with other hams and find out what the local radio club's transponder frequencies are. So you got to use it. You got to get some experience with it. Same thing with all the other equipment in your bag. Learn how to use it. Learn how to sharpen your knife and all that kinds of stuff. Okay, so now we're down to the crux of the thing, and that is Maggie and my discussion about my shelves falling apart Wednesday or Thursday evening. So, number one, make sure you invest in good shelves. These were supposed to be fairly good shelves. They had a rating of 200 pounds per shelf, 5 shelves, 1,000 pounds. I don't think I exceeded it by that much at all. But when you're putting it together, I noticed that one was kind of bowing a little bit, and that's the one that failed. So if you see bowing or anything else in your shelving as you're constructing it, that's a weak point. And at some point, it will fail. Now, we've been in this house 8 years, so mine lasted 8 years, which is pretty good, I guess, but now I'm going to go to Lowe's tomorrow and buy a replacement shelving unit. The same thing with the other one. The other one is rated at 350 pounds per shelf, 5 shelves. But like I said, it's got that thin layer of wood. And so all my canned goods were causing it to sag a little bit. So I wanted to reinforce that with 1/4-inch wood planking on the inside. So I had to do that to keep it from sagging. Now, when you reinforce it like that, of course, you're going to lose. So I was able to get 4 cans of canned goods in that space between the shelves. Okay. When I put in that reinforcement, that 1/4-inch piece of wood, can't get 4 cans in there anymore. Now I can only get 3. So because I reinforced it, I basically did away with 5 rows of cans, which is quite a significant amount of storage. And let me tell you, John and Rebecca came through here, and it was great to sit with them and have lunch with them. And they were here on a Saturday, as a matter of fact. And we went over to the I took them over to the LDS Provident Living Store. So they are phenomenal people, Theoxorus. You will be very satisfied that you have made a good new friend. I can say that. Now, the only thing I can complain about them is that I don't get to see them often enough. They're not regulars on the channel, but they have an awful lot of knowledge and very personable people, very smart people. Just a pleasure to be around. So I've had lunch with 2 of the members of this channel, with John and Rebecca, and with Triple G Farms, Pete, and he only lives about an hour away. But I understand there's one person who is a regular who lives about 25 minutes away, and I haven't met that person yet, but maybe someday. Tammy Harder, hi. You can make the Dawn spray. Oh, wow, thank you. That's great to know. There you go. She's saying the same thing I did. Yeah, I told Helen today that because we were looking, because once you get everything established in that room, so I butted my desk over. That's the reason why the bottom 2 shelves didn't fail, was because it's supported on one wall, desk, and then filing cabinet. So only the parts above the desk failed. Okay, the parts that are at the desk level or below were supported by the desk, and they didn't fail. So even though they were rated at 250 pounds per shelf, and I told Helen, it's 42 inches, and most shelving units are 48 inches, and I really don't want to have to move that roll top desk. So I'm looking for a 42-inch shelving unit. They are hard to find, and I think this one's actually 36 inches and has a 6-inch gap where I put all my oatmeal in between the desk and the shelving unit. And I've got, boxes of oatmeal, those individual packets. That's going to be my giveaway. When people come to the house, they're going to get a small packet of oatmeal to help them survive. But anyhow, so that's that area in between. So I can go up to 42 inches, but there's no 42-inch shelves, 36, 48, so I got to do a 36 unless I can find a 42. Well, actually, Once these failed, and I took everything out of that room and put them in line behind the couch in the living room, and then it took me 3 days to get everything back in there. But because I inventoried it when I put it back in there as well. But anyhow, so Helen is helping me. She's actively taking a very active role in looking for a replacement shelving unit because she wants that stuff to stay out of the living room. Lord Tachanka, welcome. Well, we'll definitely add you to our prayer list. I hope things can improve for you and things will look better for you. Teresa Buchanan, good evening. Welcome. Okay, that's Devil Dog Prepper. Let me see what we got here. Anything can be an SHTF. It doesn't have to be a natural disaster or a man-made disaster. When I found out I had a brain tumor and needed surgery, that made things change. Yes, absolutely. Little things can mean a lot. Loss of a loved one. There's all kinds of unplanned things that affect our lives and can have major effects on it. Yeah, I would check into that, Lord Tachanka, because Medicaid, Medicare should be able to help with that an awful lot. So anyhow, we talked about getting good shelving. The second thing is arrangement. Okay, so as I said, I put my shelf up against the wall, so it's the long part. So you've got, let's say this is the wall, and you've got the long part. So I put it like this, I butt it against the wall, and then it's in a corner, so it's got the other wall here. Well, when you put it against the wall like this, so that the back is back here, it's very difficult to, when you buy new stuff, to put it in the back and then keep your old stuff moved forward. So you might want to take that into consideration so that if you can, when you're setting up your shelving, set it up this way with a space in between shelving units so that you can get behind and load it from the back. And that way your new stuff is always in the back and you're pulling from the front, which is the old stuff. So that's my second mistake is having them abutted against the wall instead of coming out from the wall where I can make good additions to it and keep that rotational aspect going. The next thing is make sure you keep all your heavy items and wet items down below. I thought I had everything well taken care of, but I had some mandarin oranges. I had a case of mandarin oranges from Sam's Club, and I guess they were maybe 3-4 years old, and they just burst. And I had mold and everything else all over a shelf like you would not believe. And so cleaning that up, getting rid of the mold and everything else, disinfecting and cleaning up the mess and all that kinds of stuff. And it splattered on the wall, so I had to get it off the drywall and everything else. It is terrible. So make sure that things that could or high acidity are in a safe area. I would get one of those steam pans from Walmart, that you use to bake a turkey or something. Get that and put your high acid items, your fruits and things like that inside there, so that if they fail, you don't have the same problem that I had. At least that's what I've done. Is everything now goes inside a small sheet pan so that any spills will be contained and not necessarily go all over the house. And then you want to keep your wet items and your heavy items on the bottom. You don't want heavy items up top where it's going to have all that weight coming down. You want your heaviest on the bottom and then your lightest up top, and that's just going to make it easy. Another mistake I made was buying. I initially bought like a dozen or half dozen of the 6-gallon Reliance water jugs, so those 6-gallon Reliance water jugs, those blue ones, Remember, water is 8 pounds per gallon. And so if you're going to stack those, if you're like me, if you're 72 years old like me and you've got biceps like this, right? That 48 pounds becomes significant trying to get it up on top of the other ones. So you're going to be kind of limited at one layer if you're getting the 48 pound, 6-gallon Reliance water jugs. So what I did was I learned late that what I needed to do was get the 3-pound water bricks. And so that's only 18 pounds. These muscles can handle 18 pounds and stack those. So that became a little bit better as far as being able to stack stuff. Now let's talk real quick about barter. Back in the 90s, I decided I was going to have a barter bucket. So I have this. I have a couple barter buckets actually. Probably have about 5. So this is one that I just keep around. And I figured that these would be nice barter. Okay, look at the date on this one. This is July of 2017. Watch this. I mean, this thing has gone solid. I'll throw it away now that I've shown you. But I showed you how often I get into my barter bag. I was going to barter this away, but my gosh, this would break your jaw trying to eat that. So I have things I have in here. I have some lures and thread. I was into the bug out bag thing. Pretty heavy. I bought this at Harbor Freight. It's a hollow handle, so it's not very strong, but people who don't know about it. Now I keep matches, Zippos, fishing lures and things like that. So I have a couple of these. I've got the next one I'm going to show you. I have 2 of. I'll worry about that later. I have 2 of these. So this is all little bitty bottles of booze, airplane bottles of booze, and I don't drink. So I figured I'd buy vodka, tequila, and rum. So I got all these little bitty bottles of booze that maybe I'll barter away. I know I won't drink them, so I'm going to have to barter them away from being any good. But I got all this barter stuff, And then I started really getting involved with Selko Begovich's writings and Manny Ferfalaguirre's writings, and then Venezuelan preppers' writings. And I started learning a lot more about the reality of barter. And so all these books I'd read about having all these great barter things. And I started asking myself some really tough questions like, with whom am I going to barter? Okay. So there's two kinds of people out there: people who are prepping, okay, and people who aren't prepping. So when you talk to people who say they're going to barter things, they're primarily talking about bartering with a vast majority of people around them who aren't prepared. So that means I've got something that they want or need. They don't have anything that I want or need, or else they would have been bartered away for already, right? So why am I spending all this money to get stuff to barter away when right now I have the time to get what I want and need anyway? And don't worry. And then if it's something that I want and need, a can of Spam, a can of beans, a can of chicken noodle soup, if I want it, then chances are one of my 95% of my starving neighbors are going to want that same thing. So what? I think that my can of chicken noodle soup would be of far more value to them than some of this thread or sewing kits or anything like that. Now, maybe later on, when we're in the rebuilding stage and everything's been plundered and they can't find it anymore, and we've got these tents set up where people are trading and buying and everything else, and that's when you're going to have currency or money once again coming into play, then yeah, maybe that's going to be great. But to be honest with you, I've wasted an awful lot of money on stuff to, quote, barter. Okay. So I would encourage you to stay away from buying things solely for the purpose that you intend to barter them away. Because most of this stuff I'm not going to use. So why not, if I want to take up storage room, if I'm going to take up money and invest in things, why not invest in things that I want, need, and will use if I don't find somebody to give it away to? So that's how my barter uh, thought process has evolved over time. So all this stuff, I got these boxes out in the garage, and maybe someday they'll do somebody some good. I don't know, but I know that right now they're just taking up space, and that's an awful lot of money that I could have used for another knife. No, and so the same thing with self-defense things. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 9mm. I have a 40 caliber. I have two 45 calibers. I have a 380. I have a 357, a 38. Max you're going to use is 2. Why so many, right? Same thing with rifles, okay, and shotguns. Now I will say that my shotguns, I do have, they are, the variety there is for specific hunting reasons, and and the vast majority of my rifles are hunting rifles, and which hunting season starts up here. We the new year starts September 1st, so I got to get a new license. But you know, I just encourage you to start thinking a little bit deeper than accepting the common thoughts that other people are telling you. Don't spend money on things that you aren't going to need, and then have a plan on how you're going to store them. I have taken up way too much space in our house. I don't have any space left. And so you're going to see a lot smaller prepper hauls starting this coming Saturday. Well, I've got my monthly order coming in from Amazon on the 2nd, and then my monthly order with Thrive Life goes in on the 4th. So you'll probably see the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. You may see a one haul, and then the weekend after that, you're going to see another haul from Thrive Life. That's only going to be 4 cans. So my prepper pantry hauls are probably not going to be as exciting in the near future as they have been, because what I've realized is I don't have anywhere to put this stuff, and I've got to reduce the amount of weight that I'm putting on my shelves. So that's kind of where we are. Let me see if I can catch up with comments, and then we'll get this shut down. So Holly Ivans, we have a lot of Indians from India here. We also have a lot of the South Americans that stand in front of 7-Eleven as day workers. That's very common. Maggie says, I'm making almond extract this week. I use glycerin and alcohol, trying a new type instead of vodka, trying out spiced rum with that sounds good. There is an almond liqueur that I had in Germany that wasn't bad. I forget what it was called, but it wasn't bad. I could probably do a liqueur, but my son-in-law really likes this. It's a certain type of whiskey, Eagle Rare whiskey. Man, that stuff's expensive, but I bought him a bottle for 2 years in a row. He says, here, he gave me a little shot glass with a little bit on ice, and I took a drink, and man, oh man, I gave it back to him. I just could not drink it. I'm not a whiskey guy. I can't do it. It's just not my thing. That's a very good thought. Very good thought. Yeah, and that's the reality I came to, Tuck by V, is that what will I get for what I'm giving away, and it doesn't make sense. So barter says basically that you think that there's somebody out there who's going to have what you want and need, and they're going to need what you have, and it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade. And I don't think it's going to be that simple. I think it's going to be a lot more complex than that. Okay, so Laura Mannion kind of agrees with me. Let me see. Amaretto, there we go. I think that's the almond liqueur. Let me see. Yeah, and that's the other thing is getting to and from the barter site and security, and you don't want to carry it with you, and you don't want to give your hand on what you have and everything else. And so, typically, and so what Selko says when he went to barter, he would go and he'd say, "Well, I think I know somebody who might have that. Give me 2 or 3 days to see what I can do to get it from him because I don't have what he wants for that. And he doesn't want what you want, so I'm going to have to barter. I'm going to have to get something. I'm going to have to promise your thing to this guy in order to get his thing that he wants for that thing that you want that for this." And so you're going to have these convoluted exchanges that are going to be multiple party in the exchange. It's not going to be a simple one-for-one trade. That's pretty scary, but I think that's the way it was. And I think that's a very wise decision, Utah Mike. I think that's extremely wise. So tomorrow evening, we're going to be talking about pew-pews, chapter 11, I think it is, in Mr. Rawles's book. Let's see. Let me make sure. Chapter 11, pew-pews for self-sufficiency and self-defense. So we're going to have to kind of use a lot of code words because YouTube doesn't like us talking about that. So, be very cautious, and we will talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, and so I don't know if you noticed, I've been out with them all day today, so this is my St. Vincent de Paul t-shirt, working with people who needed help. I have another appointment tomorrow with a young lady who can't pay her rent this month, so we're going to go see if we can't help her. By the way, for those of you who don't know, that's where 25% of the money that I get from you watching all the commercials, the advertisements, when you watch at least 15 seconds of it, I get paid. For watching my videos, I get paid. So 25% of my income goes to St. Vincent de Paul. 25% goes to the Caring Place, which is our county food bank. It's more than a county food bank, but I call it the county food bank. They also help people with rent, electrical payments, electricity payments. They have a secondhand store. I mean, it's a phenomenal place to go to. 25% goes to Scott Video. He's our local leader of the Salvation Army. And I really believe in what the Salvation Army does. So I like to give that to them. So you know that 75% of all the money I make on this channel goes to nonprofit organizations. The St. Vincent de Paul, the Caring Place, and Salvation Army. Because I just think those are things we need to do. We need to take care of our fellow man. That's what the second chapter of James, verse 24, I believe, if I have that memorized correctly. Let me see here. We can go back there to James 2. I believe it's 24. I usually go from 14 on, but let's see. 24. A person is justified by works and not by faith alone. And then you go back to Matthew 24, and he's talking about how, if you take care of God's least, then you're put in this group, and then the other group who aren't out there visiting, feeding the hungry, visiting the destitute, visiting those in prison, they're going to, if you're not doing that, then you're going to go with the other one to what he calls eternal condemnation. So anyhow, Numbers chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. Or as we used to say, pre-Vatican II, Dona nobis pacem, Lord grant us peace. So thank you all so much for being here this evening. And thank you for putting up with I hope you got something from my mistakes so that you don't make the same mistakes, that you can spend your money wisely and accumulate the things that you need. And thank you for being so kind, polite, and respectful to each other. I greatly appreciate that, because remember, we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. I will see you tomorrow evening. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.